Dragonfly offers a wide range of functionality, including user forms, dashboards, data grids, and reports. But you may not want to expose all this functionality to every one of your employees. For example, you might not want your sales clerks looking at purchasing data. Access to the functionality is controlled by assigning permissions to each function. In this lesson, we'll review how those permissions are assigned. Assigning permissions is a three-layer process. The top layer is a set of functional roles. These roles define an employee's responsibilities in the application. Several default roles are provided out of the box, including System Administrator, Sales Clerk, Procurement Manager, Classes Manager, etc. The next layer defines the permissions assigned to each of these roles. Finally, one or more roles are assigned to each user. Using roles between users and permissions makes it much easier to onboard new users. For example, if you hire a new sales clerk, you can simply assign him or her the sales clerk role, rather than trying to remember all the functionality a sales clerk will need access to. When setting up Dragonfly for your store, you should begin with the permissions assigned to each role. From the navigator, select Security, then Role Permissions. It's usually easier to work with one application module at a time. For example, let's select Point of Sale from the module drop-down list. All the application's functionality associated with point of sale activity will be listed. If you want to review all the permissions assigned to a role, you can select all modules from the drop-down and a complete listing of functionality will be shown. The table that appears provides a matrix of permission assignments, with the function and function type listed along the left edge, followed by a column for each defined role. Each cell in the grid indicates the permissions assigned to the role. If the letter R is present, that role can read or view the listed function. An E in the cell indicates that the role can edit the data shown on the form. The letter A means that the role can add new records to the form, and D indicates that the user can delete or disable records in the form. To add a new role to the grid, click the Add Role button and enter the name of the new role when prompted. To change a role's permissions for a specific function, click in the cell for the function and role. Then type R for Read Permission, E for Edit Permission, A for Add Permission, or D for Delete Permission. To remove a permission, just delete the letter for that permission. To add or remove permissions for multiple roles or functions, begin by selecting the permissions to be changed using the 4 checkboxes. Next, select the grid cells that you want to change. You can drag with the mouse or use the Control and Shift keys in the standard manner to select multiple cells. To add the selected permissions to the selected cells, click the Add button. To remove the selected permissions from the selected cells, click the Remove button. If you click the Replace button, the selected cells will all be assigned the selected permissions, removing permissions that are not checked. To clear all permissions from a cell, you can check all 4 boxes and click Remove, or uncheck all 4 boxes and click Replace. Be sure to save your changes before closing the form. Now that we have assigned permissions to the roles, we are ready to assign the roles to users. Click the Assign Roles button to go to the role assignment form. When the form opens, make sure the Assign Users to Roles radio button is checked. The first step is to select the role to be assigned from the Select Role drop-down list. If you want to create a new role, click the New Role button and enter the name of the new role. You can also rename an existing role by selecting it from the drop-down, then clicking the Rename Role button. The list will show all the people currently registered as employees. Check marks will appear next to the people who have already been assigned the currently selected role. To assign the role to another employee, simply click the checkbox next to the employee's name. To remove the role from the employee, uncheck the box. When bringing a new employee on board, it's usually easier to assign roles to the user, rather than assigning the user to the roles. To change assignment mode, click the Assign Roles to Users button. The drop-down list is now labeled Select User. Select the user to be edited from this list. A list of all the defined roles will appear, with a check mark next to the roles already assigned to the selected user. Check or uncheck these boxes to add and remove roles for the user. The System Administrator role should be assigned to very few users. Be sure to save your changes before closing the form. It is also noted that any employee's roles can be changed on the employee's form, as shown.